Welcome to Declutter Your Life. I'm your host, Andrew Mellen, and by the end of today's episode, you are going to know how to deal with sentimental objects, though some of the most sticky things in your home, and I don't mean like sticky with fingerprints or sugary stickiness. I mean just the things that keep us so bound up because of the powerful stories, some conscious and some unconscious, that are attached to these objects. And you know, as a professional organizer, it's very easy to assume that I am not sentimental or that I am cold and calculating about things and I'm devoid of feeling, and that is not true. So I want to make it clear that I'm not coming from a superior than or an exclusionary place in having this conversation. I have sentimental objects in my home, and I'm going to share a couple of them with you today. For those of you who are listening, you will not be able to see them, but if you watch the video recording of this podcast on my YouTube channel, you will see these objects that I'll be referencing. And why don't we just jump right into that? I'm going to show you the first object is this little ceramic monkey. It's a little ceramic monkey. For those of you who are listening, he's got a pink coat and a blue hat. And on the bottom, as you can see, there is a little sticker in my grandmother's writing that says Andy. She went around and put names on all of the little things in her home so that when she died, we would all know who was supposed to get what. So apparently she wanted me to have the little monkey. I got the little monkey. I don't have a ton of these kinds of objects, but I do have a few of them. And look, if I was devoid of feeling, I probably would have washed off that sticker. But I love the fact that it's my grandmother's writing and it's there and it sits on my dresser. The thing about sentimental objects that I want you to think about is, how do they serve you? What do they keep alive for you? And are you actively keeping the memory of these people alive in other ways, or are you dependent only on these inanimate objects? Because this is the challenge. If you are only relying on these objects, something may, we could even say something will eventually happen to these objects. And if you have put, in essence, all your eggs in one basket, to mix our metaphors, and something happens, right? The china teacup breaks, the little monkey gets knocked off the dresser, something happens. We can't make these inanimate objects responsible for keeping our relationships with these loved ones, or even these loved memories and experiences, if they're not tied to another person, but just different parts of our own life. We can't make these objects responsible for keeping those memories alive. Here's another one that I'm going to share with you. This is a baseball from the 1968 World Series that I attended with my parents when we were all still married, when they were still married and we were all living together. We attended the 6th game of the 1968 World Series, in which Mickey Lolich was the pitcher who got that game. Even though Denny McLain had started the game, Mickey Lolich actually was the relief pitcher, and he got credit for that game. And it was an amazing game. The Tigers went on to play Game 7 in St. Louis against the Cardinals, but Game 6 was in Detroit, and we got to attend it. So anyway, I have this baseball. I've had it since we attended that, and now, I can remember being at that game, and the ball is a touchstone for me, but the ball isn't responsible for keeping the memory alive. And there is something that is required from us as the people, as the animate person, thing in the relationship, to keep that alive and not to abdicate the responsibility and make the object responsible. I say it all the time when I'm teaching, right? Your dad is not the clock. Your grandmother's not the teacup. You can't charge these objects. And also, if you think about it, just the scale of your memories and trying to pack them into one object, right? Like I can't sum up all of the memories of my grandmother in one little ceramic monkey. I mean, his little hat is not, and for those of you who are listening, his hat is hollow. I can't possibly smash all of my memories of my grandmother in his little top hat. They just wouldn't fit. I was fortunate enough to have her for the first 26 years of my life. So there are other ways to keep memories alive. Like in the case of my grandmother, I could make you a batch of her poppy seed, her famous poppy seed cookies, and share those with you, right? I could tell you stories about spending the summer with her, the summer actually before my folks split up, or spending weekends with her, and her making me cocoa. She made cocoa from scratch for me, and I can still remember her doing it, right? And she kept kosher. And so I also remember if we had lamb chops for dinner, how long we had to wait before we could then have the Sara Lee cheesecake for dessert, right? And watching Lawrence Welk with her. And all of those things are far more palpable and accessible to me because I haven't tied them to an individual object. So for you, when you think about these objects that you have in your life, the journey really needs to be like, what is the memory? What can I do to keep the memory palpable and accessible for myself? And how can I have the object be a part of the equation, but not the focal point of the equation? And also, these are about things that we actually enjoy having around us. For all of the things that are causing you grief, perhaps things that you've received from people you're no longer in relationship with because they have hurt you. I really think that my invitation to you is today, right now, review those objects and see if you can let them go. I had one client who had a stereo, a decent stereo. I mean, it wasn't an amazing stereo, but it was a decent stereo that she had gotten from a boyfriend who had treated her really poorly, really poorly. I mean, just talked garbage to her all the time. And she was holding onto the stereo because she really loves music. And she could also afford to buy herself a new stereo. And the story that she was telling herself was, he was such a prick that this was the nicest thing he ever gave me, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let it go. And so it was all about trying to eke something out of him that he was not willing to really give her in all of the other ways inside of the relationship, right? So she had cooked it down into this monetary transaction, like he had spent X amount of dollars, whatever it was, $500, $800, which was a sum greater than apparently whatever dollar value we could place on his affection and love for her. So that was the story that was keeping her bound. And my invitation to her was, could you buy yourself a new stereo so that every time you listen to music that is integral to your life, it's not colored by putting it on the stereo of the jackass who treated you like trash? Could you not have it be a completely clean, celebratory experience for yourself? And look, I understand some people might not be able to afford to replace the object, and it might be easier in the short run to hold on to the object, use it, but at least to be aware of the story. And then perhaps, just like you would create a Christmas club for anything else, maybe you would create a Christmas club for yourself so that you could save up the money, even if it's $5 a week or $10 a week, to set yourself free so that you're now actually starting to care for yourself. Right? When we talk about the stuff behind the stuff, this is the stuff that we're talking about. How much do you love yourself? How much are you willing to love yourself, to take care of yourself and remove something that causes you pain every time you look at it or interact with it? And And how much are you willing to invest in your own well-being that you would make a different strategic choice by setting $5 aside every week until you can afford to replace something that is currently causing you grief or pain? Life is very short. And it's easy to say that, but I think we all know that life is short. And how long do you want to keep things around you that are causing you pain or upset or prompt negative, debilitating, and limiting kinds of thoughts and feelings in your life, instead of the things that lift you up and keep you focused and aligned with your values and making better choices for yourself? So as you are looking around your home, your office, your home, your office, and you're looking at these objects, I really invite you to consider what's going to make the grade and what's going to stay, and what are you willing to let go of to make space in your life for new memories, new experiences, new relationships. This same woman with the stereo, right? We had a conversation once. She had basically turned her apartment. She lost both her mother and her father, not on top of each other. I mean, not super close to each other, but relatively rapidly. And she had basically turned her house into some sort of weird mausoleum and temple to people who were no longer there. I understand the sense of grief. I've lost my father. I mean, I didn't lose him. I know right where he is. I didn't lose him, but my father is dead. And I understand what it's like to want to keep people nearby and keep their memories nearby. And at the same time, is your home really a temple to yourself and to life and the future? Or is it a temple to all things that have passed? And you have to look at that mindset, glass half full, glass half empty. Are you telling yourself consciously, unconsciously, that the best parts of your life are over and there's nothing to look forward to? There's nothing ahead that's going to be better than what's already here? I can't really support that mindset, because I don't care how old you are, whether you're 8 or 87, every day that you're here is the opportunity for something new, something exciting, something magical to occur. And the best is not behind us, wherever you're at on that spectrum. The best is right now and whatever's coming next. So with that, I feel complete. I feel like I've shared enough with you to get you on the path to be able to interact with these sentimental objects in a way that is actually going to serve you now and in the future, instead of holding something frozen that's keeping you stuck and possibly in the past, and possibly even in the past, with something that's causing you deep grief, re-traumatizing you, or pain. Let's do our best to draw that line in the sand, make the past, and set ourselves up for a better and more functional, happier, joyous, expansive present and future. This has been another episode of Declutter Your Life. I'm your host, Andrew Mellen. I look forward to being with you again real soon.